Not many times I get a transmission from outside the zone, but yesterday I did. And I wanted to address it. And in case these broadcasts ever actually make it out, I wanted to send you guys the information of what we're dealing with. I guess there are people out there that are listening. And I got this transmission the other day, and honestly, I don't know how he even got through. He must have been generating a lot of power to get to us, but he definitely did, and I guess I was the only guy on the line. Or at least, I think I was, or maybe just people weren't tuned into the right spot. I don't know, but regardless, I picked it up. So, hearing from so very few people, I'm going to pick up that line and say hello. What I didn't know is that it's not shocking, we've been locked out of the rest of the world. Florida is basically an island now. Armed forces, rescue teams, they're not even allowed to enter here anymore. The helicopters we've seen were just recon missions to see if the area got any better. And spoiler alert, I hate to break it to you, but it hasn't. And if you can hear this, I'm going to help you guys even better that it's not going to get any better. I don't think there is any way for us to get better. I'll just kind of review it. The question was, what was it like inside the Florida death zone? And that's what it's being called, the Florida death zone. That's pretty cut and dry, if you ask me. I'm located in what used to be known as Orlando. We'll say it like that. You probably knew it as the place where that big theme park was. Well, I mean, unless you like undead rats now, that dream is long past, but I don't know if anybody even remembers any of that stuff. But anyway, unlike you guys' blissful world, we are covered in zombies. And you probably think I'm not going to hold back on saying certain words. You're sadly mistaken. We don't hold anything back here. We know exactly what this is. It's the apocalypse, the effective end of the world, where everybody else may be having a good time or even semi-good time. For us here, this is where humans are simply eradicated, apocalypse, end of the world, and all of us get swept away in the tide. So I'm not going to hold back on saying anything that I feel or what I want to call them, because everybody wants to tiptoe on it like it's some kind of weird, like, post-political correctness. There's no political correctness anymore, it's gone. So we're going to call it what it is. And we thought from the very beginning that we are where it all started. I think it was hiding in the background, just waiting to come out. And I wasn't the only one. A mix of drugs, old folks trying to survive in oppressive heat. It's a breeding ground. I mean, literally anything and everything can live here. And it makes me think, if we're this bad, how bad is Australia? I'm going to bet really bad. But unlike them, we don't have a gigantic space to live on to emit all this problem out. And don't get me wrong, Florida is deceptively big, but it's still surrounded by water. We're in a funnel, where it's an alley. It effectively has the tastiest humans, apparently, the further south you go. And now you get people on the verge of death. It's like a petri dish of microbes, bacteria, viruses, even fungus that can find new and crazy ways to dine on its food of choice, which is us, humans. And when the first attacks happened, they weren't even broadcast worldwide. Attacks with homeless and the drug-addled. Considered just part of big city life, unless one day in Miami suddenly national coverage happens, and it's just one case though. It's just a flash in the pan, like the firework that didn't effectively go off. It just kind of poofed into the air and then just faded away just as fast. Everybody forgot it, and I doubt anybody even followed up on it. It was at most viral marketing. 24 hours of news cycle, or however the guy words it, that was it. And for us, it didn't stop. The media was lax to even call it what it was, while all of us started questioning why it was happening more and more. For you guys it went away, and for us it suddenly was a way of life. A couple of conspiracy theories rising to the top, like the government was trying to kill off the weak and population control, but it was clear what was happening was effectively brewing in the background. Back when a zombie was not much different than we are, it was mixed with China white zombies. The truth was you couldn't tell the difference between somebody that was on something and the new ones weren't like the old stuff. It was synthetic, designed to do more, and the new flake freaks and bath heads, they might as well have been zombies or some variation, and we never would even know. That stuff would pop up on some viral share, and the next second it would just disappear. Probably covered up to make sure that tourists kept flowing in. Well, we'll never know why they did what they did, but the damage was done. And some people started going north to escape it, and in secret, nobody even talked about it, but it fled with them, and one day it was too late. It was all over the news, and when the dead got up and started walking around in groups, well, that was that. Like a cancer brewing underneath it finally popped out of the skin like a zit, and a small spot that was hiding in the problems underneath it, that the drug dens and the homeless were now something different, and now they were going after people. Florida just became part of the white noise, but got no attention, instead focusing on the Middle Eastern part of the U.S., where for them this was never a problem. And for us, that gateway was in Atlanta, and it was closing up, and it wouldn't be long until the National Guard stepped in and basically closed the door on everybody. The aged, now for us, no longer able to get medication. They're trapped in their homes. Nurses don't visit anymore. There's no staff, and they no longer, some of them had a fight to go on. They just wanted it to stop, and they went from hiding in homes to walking on the streets, and they were clean, unforeboding. You wouldn't even have known that they were anything but old people walking around. But now they're unnaturally strong. It's an elderly person that once was never a threat, could put an unholy lock on your arm, and one bite with the power of an Everglade alligator, and if they could do it, they could sink their teeth in. People weren't quick. It was going to be over fast. You went home, and by the time you started feeling sick, the overloaded 911 operators weren't answering, and it covered you like the sun going down. And when it came back up, you were a new person, devoid of feelings and remorse, and you basically weren't human anymore. The elderly living homes are pretty much the first thing to go. Hospitals were next. They became breeding grounds for the real New World Order. Conspiracies and protests disappeared. They gave way to a whole new, bigger problem. We were being systematically converted. I mean, if you think about it, was this really what the pod people story was really all about? I mean, they certainly weren't bogged down by convoluted concepts of civilization or order or politics or any saving their own souls. They didn't hate each other. They weren't organized. They were unfeeling, mitigated by a simple goal: to feed. A breed to feed. And all that cake batter was us in the bottom of the bowl. And the good old boys with the shotguns went out. They tried to clear things up, but all they really did with their guns is stir the pot and announce to the zombie world where everyone was, like a big broadcasting megaphone, come here for dinner. And the cities and any place with any towns around them became loading zones for just everything to come for dinner. It was a dinner bell, gigantic dinner bell. And as machines began to run and things were loud, they knew exactly where to go. Now we're a pressure cooker with the top stuck. And it seemed like once they were done with Atlanta, they fell towards the bottom of the state like an overturned barrel of monkeys. The last I measured, we had probably 18 million residents. Now that figure is more like 23 3 million zombies. And I'm not joking either. If I look out my door, it may look quiet, but one piece of movement and they're everywhere. You can see little signs of them hiding in the grass. Everybody is a potential thing ready to sit up and grab you. Now they're part of the grass and the foliage. They're almost invisible. And in a crazy turn of events, the only thing in our corner are effectively the alligators, but both really do a very good job of avoiding each other. And I don't want to see the idea of a undead alligator if I'm being completely honest. The truth is we can travel. There's ways of getting around. We've kind of adapted as things went around. Thankfully we like to close off our big areas with giant shrubs and gates and fences so that the only trick is getting to and from spots without being noticed. But there's a lot of blockage to get to those places and a lot of places to be in cover. But that still means no guns, no cars, nothing with a motor. Anything that's loud is off base. And unless you're using it to lead the dead around. So first we had used fireworks to direct them, but those ran out pretty quickly. Gas was the same way, but it ran out too. Next was trading for moonshine, and that has never really let anyone down. We run some motors where you want them to go and you move them around unnoticed due to the noise. So you can kind of hide behind that kind of engine rev, if you will. And I think these things got really accustomed to the city noise, and when all that stopped, any kind of noise again meant that the dinner bell was ringing. And they really do a great job of going there. So if you find a gated in area, you put an engine in the back, someplace it's going to be either difficult or impossible to get to, and you just put in enough gas to let it run for an hour or so, then you're good. And it's become quite a network of people, because if you don't, in this environment, you end up being dead quick. And that's the beauty, is you know where, if you hear an engine, if you hear something running, you know that's where not to go, but you know that there's somebody out there still functioning. But still, the mistrust is always going to be high. It's very high. There's no way people are going to give you a lot of information here. You really work on a need-to-know basis and supplies and anything that you can get with people. And you only work with people you're familiar with, and nobody ever will know where you live. I'll never disclose where I'm coming from, and if I figured out that anybody was finding or trying to track me, I would take steps. Because you work with the wrong folks here in your zombie food. Somebody gets turned and they know where you live, and it's over. They naturally know where to go now. It's like a tracking sense, and we've seen people that made the mistake of it. There's not many of us that can make mistakes anymore. It's not a cooperative here like in other places. A lot of the other places, you guys, I think, don't realize what's going on. You have numbers in your favor. We don't have that. These groups are tight-knit. We use cheap radios, anything we can run on low power, even found some electric generators to make sure that we can do what we're doing. But the trick is to stay as quiet as possible. And the biggest group I've ever saw was, I think, about 12 people, and it was a family. Most are solitary. They work for their family, or they just work alone. We don't have a lot of places under the ground that work for us. We can't dig like most people can. So to work with that, if it's loud, it's got to be hidden. It's got to be stored in a place that it can be compacted. So nothing is efficient, and any food we get is going to suck. So if you're not producing something, you're not even getting in these groups. Wandering merchants, they've never lasted long. They disappear in days, if not minutes. And a lot of people that have died waiting to get in on this stuff too. So there's people that wanted to get into our groups or get into this network, and they won't let them in because they have some kind of question about it, or part of some sort of organization that was not, well, maybe it was known for theft or had some sort of history. And if you had a history and you didn't get in, there was no way to get supplies unless you did it yourself. but the idea is that their belief system is basically you work, you eat, and it's a system that so far has worked. It leaves the young supporting their families, but the numbers even still seem to dwindle. Every time you talk to somebody who's the runner, they're talking about how there's less family to worry about every time we talk to them. So, but every day you wonder if someone is becoming a victim. It's an endless horde, literally just outside any gate you pass. So, maybe the easy stuff is, if you want to get supplies, is hitting up growing food, finding places that are farms. There are places that stuff like this went on. It's not as easy to find it in this area, but it's out there. So if you want to take the walk, you can do it. And in some cases you're going to have to, and then use that to trade once you get back. But going in those places that nobody goes to hunt, or that doesn't have zombies, they have their own troubles, and you got to take anything that works. Still, everything is going to be a risk measured in feet and seconds. That's really is distance and time, and it's very minuscule how much time you have to react or how much time you have to deal with anything that comes up. And we don't even know how long this is going to last. The system that we have in place, I mean, there's not many of us. Unlike you other places that we hear building shelters and even rebuilding cities, things here, they get worse and worse. They're not getting any better. We can't obviously build underground bunkers unless you like living in moldy water. Any construction noise is going to bring a horde of dead that can... I've seen them break down concrete walls, literally push things over. The gates are nothing. You can see it, put up a gate, and the more that shows up, it'll stop a certain amount, but there just comes a point when even a gate, a wooden wall, anything it's a matter of time before they can snap it and break just the weight of their force pushing against it. It's actually pretty impressive to think that things that were once people got together and merged efforts, how much they could do. Basically bring down a house if they wanted to. But yeah, it's crazy, but it is a numbers game. So, but I've heard that the Daytona shelter, that's in the old Daytona Speedway, it's about the only thing that we have remotely considered a shelter, but it's not housing that many people. I'm talking hundreds, maybe at most 1,000, and getting in that thing, places like pulling teeth. I've heard it's virtually impossible. I think they let something like 5 people in that I know of since it all started, and the idea is you have to be darn near perfect to even get in it. So yeah, I was kind of taken aback to know that we're in the death zone, but I was kind of thinking that it's probably good news that just outside of the border that there are people out there that really are building shelters and, you know, building up stuff and actually sending out rescue groups, and I really thought it was this bad everywhere. I didn't think it was just us. But I'm just saying like this, you guys up north think that these empty pockets, that there's some walkers walking around, you think that's bad. Dude, if you ever think about coming down here, this is where the woods are evil. It's not just zombies. They're literally everywhere and everything. The creatures here, you never know, even if they could carry the infection. So you run into something like a dog, and is that dog infected? Can it be infected? We don't know. We don't know some of the bugs that are coming around at night that, you know, take it. There's reasons that we put these nets around everything that we have. Is some kind of bug going to bite me at night, and that's going to be the thing that takes me down? There's literally no information, no communication, and there's no safe place where we're able to stay or feel any sort of relaxation. And the worst part is, every time we think we have it figured out, we still are falling like flies. We change one thing and nothing changes. You're seeing your friends become zombies. You're seeing people that you worked with become zombies. You're seeing everything around you. You're looking through glasses and seeing one of your friends that's now a zombie. You'd think that they would keel over and die at some point, but they're still out there walking that same path over and over again, or just sitting there like statues in near mailboxes, like they're checking the mail or waiting to cross the street. They're just frozen in time, especially in the city. It's crazy. They're all over the place like that, just like statues, like a new form of thing that's merged with the birds and other stuff. The thing that I think, even though that's shocking, I have to say the part that really got me was how quiet things got and what the world sounds like when all that automation went away. That was really the thing that changed, and it really made me understand why these things started moving around based on the noise that they heard. It really was hearing stuff. So the more quiet it was, the less they knew what to do, and how much that sound carries. And especially, I think the cities and all that, I think that all kind of played a role. I don't know if that's what everybody out there was experiencing, but I think it was for us, was that the boats kept running, the waterways kept going, the highways kept rumbling, and it gave them a place to follow in the noise that was now basically quiet. Hearing crickets, hearing birds, hearing stuff. You just don't realize how much you're missing until suddenly all that cars and everything and sounds and construction and, sirens and all that stuff goes away. TVs running alone makes so much noise. Even if you're listening to this on the radio, you have to be careful because that little noise is carrying so far. But anyway, if you're thinking of coming here and it pulls some of us out, I'm just going to say there are a bunch of survivors here. You're not seeing them because they're covered up, and they're doing their best to face basically insurmountable odds at this point, and they need you. So if you have a way to get them, I know these helicopters are not going to work. You guys are making so much noise that they can hear you in Miami. But yeah, there's got to be a way, and I doubt I'll live in. I think I'll probably never be around to see any sort of escape plan. I doubt I'll ever be able to leave, based on what I know. But I hope I'm still around. But I don't even know what to tell you about getting more southern to here. It's probably even worse the more south you go. But I think military devices and all that stuff, I don't think that's what we need. I think we just, at this point, just need prayer. Anything to get us through at this point. And like I said, nothing you're seeing in a helicopter is even telling you what's really going on. And every time you guys fly over, you're bringing everything with you. And where do those helicopters hit? They're always heading south. I've never understood that, but I don't know, maybe we're lost. I don't know. I wish you guys the best of luck with it though, and I hope to see somebody outside of this or something come in and clear it out, but I know it's going to be a while, but so for now we're going to be stuck here on the moon, still surviving, and wishing everybody else best of luck.